Hey there, folks. Hope you're doing well today. Tina Peters is making the news again, and she's doing so a few different ways. Tina Peters, if you recall, is the Mesa County clerk who went to prison for 9 years for election fraud and tampering with election machines. Let's take a quick look at a clip regarding her appeal.
New questions are being raised in the case of former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. Her legal team went before the Colorado Court of Appeals to argue that she was wrongly convicted. Now, while they disagree about that, they are reconsidering the length of the prison sentence, thinking they gave her extra time based off of an error.
And so, as we see there, she's not going to get out of prison on appeal based on the idea that she was wrongly convicted. And this is because it was a clear-cut case with lots of evidence. Now, interestingly enough, she might get out a little early because of an error. But that's still to be decided, and who knows how much time will be cut off of her sentence. Nonetheless, just a couple days after, Tina Peters was involved in a fight. Let's take a look.
New video tonight from the Department of Corrections showing former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters with her hands around the neck of another inmate. Take a look at that. DOC says it happened last night at the La Vista Correctional Facility. Now, the department says nobody was hurt. They say Peters was moved to a different housing area after this. But according to Peters' website, the other inmate hit her first, and the website says Peters has minor injuries and that Peters was taken to solitary confinement as a result. Now, the DOC disputes that claim, saying Peters is not in solitary. In fact, they say this facility does not use solitary confinement. Now, Peters is serving 9 years in prison, convicted of organizing a data breach scheme during the 2020 presidential campaign. Peters gave a man unauthorized access to the county election system. President Trump pardoned Peters last month, but presidential pardons do not cover state crimes.
Okay, so a lot to take in there. We see Tina going into a closet. We see another inmate going and looking like they're grabbing the rack that Tina brought into the closet, followed by what looks like Tina grabbing and assaulting the other inmate. And then her team going on to make a bunch of claims that are so easily disproven that the local news does it, saying that they don't even have a unit for solitary confinement at that prison. But here, let's take another look. Let's zoom in and see if we can see this other inmate taking physical aggressive action towards Tina in the closet. Yeah, I just don't see it. You see the other inmate making a motion, but in that moment in time, there's only enough time for them to make one motion, and we see the result of that motion being them moving this cart. I think instead what we're witnessing is just normal jail prison behavior. One inmate doing their prison tasks, and another inmate on edge resorting to physical violence. Now, let's make this interesting. Let's take a look at a couple of different conspiracy theorists and see not only how they spin this current event that just happened, but the actions of Tina from the past. This is coming to us from David Nino Rodriguez on YouTube. He's a former boxer gone full-blown conspiracy theorist, and he's joined by a guy who goes by the name 107, and these guys make a lot of content, really just pull everything out of their ass. It's surprising that people still listen to them, but because people do, and because they're impressionable, it's a great window into the MAGA believer world. So let's see how they spin what just happened to Tina. They called this an emergency meeting. Let's take a look.
Well, I just want people to know, and a lot of people have heard, because we're into the afternoon right now, but last night, Tina Peters, in the evening was assaulted again.
Tina Peters was assaulted by who?
Yeah. One of the other inmates, they have these maintenance closets where they have to go in and get stuff. They have work, they have to do chores and like that. And so some other inmate decided that inside these closets, there's no cameras. There's cameras out in the main areas. So this person went in after Tina went in there and started to assault her.
Like how?
Tina, pushed this out into the open area where it could be seen, obviously for her own protection as much as possible. And then on the camera, all it shows is Tina pushing this person out of the closet. Well,
Was this person younger than her? Was it a
Oh,
DO?
she's the oldest person in there practically, so it almost had to be somebody younger. But the long and short of it is that Tina was charged with assault because all the camera shows is her pushing this person into the open area, and of course the other person knowing where the cameras are at,
Wow.
immediately, right? So who gets charged? Tina's being investigated for assault, and likely would get charged for assaulting
So,
this
so
other
they
inmate.
they set her up.
They set her up.
Okay, so if you were watching the video closely, it looked like Nino was getting really emotional. But instead, I think he slammed his hand in the table. Nonetheless, he starts asking the right questions. When Juan is talking about how Tina was assaulted, David asks him, hey, how'd she assault him? What happened? Which is a good question, because if you see the video, you don't really see any evidence of an assault. But this is what it's like to be on the right. You ignore reality, you dodge entire conversations, and usually you're playing a victim while you're doing this dodge. And we see this so clearly when Nino finishes that clip saying, so they set her up, she's the victim. In the next clip, we're going to see them begin coming out of the gate talking about solitary confinement. And as we just saw, the newscaster for that local news easily debunked this claim because they don't even have a solitary unit at that prison. Oh my God, it's so exhausting. Okay, roll the clip.
And so she's in the hole. She's in solitary again, out of communications, while they review the situation and decide if they want to charge her again. So at the end of the day,
I can't believe how much bad luck is hitting this woman. This is terrible. Her son, she's a Gold Star mom. Her son, was her son murdered in combat, Juanito?
Well, no, her son was a parachutist. He was also special, a SEAL, but he was on a demonstration team, and behind the scenes had been helping on some child trafficking issues. And so here he's at an event where they're doing a demonstration parachute jump, and is excruciatingly rare double chute failure. He had thousands of jumps. This was unheard of, really.
But they pack their own parachutes, don't
Exactly. That's the point. So to have a double failure like this is just, quite bizarre. And, but you'll never probably at this point prove what actually happened there. And it's very unfortunate. But
Okay, so we're getting to this point where the conversation could be about accountability. She held a position that required a lot of responsibility, and instead she abused that access and broke the law. It was very easy for us to see and demonstrate that. She's now getting in physical altercations in prison. And so here we see David Nino associate all of this with bad luck. Again, another trait of the right: ignore accountability and instead be the victim. And then we see Juan top the whole thing off by ending that clip by introducing a conspiracy theory about her son. Again, and we could touch on accountability there, but we won't. So in the end, this isn't really about one prison altercation, one appeal, or even one conspiracy theory. It's about a pattern. When facts become inconvenient, they're replaced with stories. When accountability shows up, it's reframed as persecution. And when reality refuses to cooperate, the answer is always the same. She's the victim. What makes this cycle so revealing is how automatic it is. Clear video evidence becomes missing context. Verified reporting becomes the narrative. Personal responsibility gets dissolved into bad luck, setups, and shadowy forces that can never be quite proven, but always feel emotionally satisfying. And that's the danger here. Not just misinformation, but the comfort it provides. Because believing you're under attack is easier than admitting you were wrong. And once that mindset sets in, every consequence feels like injustice. Every correction feels like oppression, and every lie feels justified as long as it protects the story. Reality, unfortunately, doesn't care about any of that. It doesn't bend for feelings, and it doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It just keeps showing up on camera, in court records, and in outcomes that no amount of spin can erase.
Mesa County's clerk, Tina Peters was her name. Fell for voter last, thought elections were a game. Opened up machines, let strangers take a look. Violated trust, now she's caught on the hook. In Colorado's hills, thumbs her tail is told with shame. A warning to us all, don't play this foolish game. Oh, Tina Peters, what have you done? Chase after lies, now your freedom's gone. 9 years behind bars, your reputation stained. Don't be like Tina, keep your mind unchained.